My name is Megan Dion. I am the Public Art and Artist Program Specialist with the Nebraska Arts Council, and welcome to the Fred Simon Gallery, which is located in the Nebraska Arts Council offices in the Old Market in Omaha, Nebraska. The Nebraska Arts Council is a state agency that offers programs, grants, and opportunities that foster creativity across the state. One of our programs is the Fred Simon Gallery. We feature exhibitions by artists dealing with all different content mediums from all over the state. Right now, we're going to hear from our current exhibiting artist about the work that they create for this gallery and in their studio practice and why they do that. So we look forward to seeing you at the Fred Simon Gallery and the Nebraska Arts Council very soon.
Hi, welcome to the Fred Simon Gallery. I'm Tharnish, and I'm here in my show, Nostalgia Moments in Time. I have a lot of paintings and drawings here in the gallery that deal with a lot of memories to do with the topic nostalgia. This is my painting. It's called Of Dandelions and Dust. The idea for the title actually came from a Mary Oliver poem where she described the Midwest as a land of dust and grass, and I loved that description. A few years ago, I started painting ghosts into my paintings, as in like a sheet ghost, like if somebody cut the eyes out and was wearing a blanket. There's a particular ghost that has popped up in different paintings that's a quilt, and I've started using it as an extension or personification of myself, and I got to the point where I wanted to do a self-portrait as my quilt ghost, and I had so much fun painting this, and I chose a dandelion as the flower because it's one of my favorite flowers. To me, they represent strength and perseverance, and they're just one of my favorite flowers. And as I was painting it, it started out as a really playful experimentation with the quilt ghost. But as I was painting it, I started getting a really strong emotional tie to this painting, and even though most of my figure is obscured, it feels like a very good representation of my inner self, and so I feel a really strong connection to this painting. I grew up here in Omaha, Nebraska, and I went to UNO to get my BFA in painting. And this painting is inspired by my grandparents' house that they had when I was a little girl. They both passed away when I was young, and the house that they lived in has since been torn down. And so this one, I really wanted to explore the feelings of grief towards a place that no longer physically exists. And it feels like a very specific kind of grief that I don't see a lot of people talk about. So I really wanted to explore that feeling. And I wanted to create an imagined space that it's actually loosely based on the kitchen in that house. But I threw some imagined elements in there, and I wanted to create a space that felt recently abandoned that I sometimes return to. Like the cracks in the wall and the peeling wallpaper and the tree branch coming through the window are kind of those elements of this place is no longer lived in. And all of the objects that I pick in my paintings have something to do with either a childhood memory or a connection to a family member or a story or an experience I've had. And so all of the objects like the marbles and the horse and the bunny, they all tie back to specific memories for me. and I love layering memories and stories and experiences and dreams and creating really complex compositions. And I also love to paint my pets into my paintings whenever I get the chance, so I did paint one of my cats into this one. This is a drawing I have in the show. It's called Wherever You Have Torn, I Will Mend. And a couple of years ago, I took my old childhood quilt that my mom made me, and it was ripping and tearing in some spaces, and so I went through and repaired it and embroidered onto it. And so this drawing was kind of inspired by that. I paint and I draw quilts into my works quite often. I'm a quilter, and all the women in my family quilt, and it's kind of a skill that's been passed down like an heirloom. And quilts are really fascinating to me. They feel like little bits of magic, because when someone makes something, it's kind of imbued with their love and care, and most often quilts are gifted to somebody else. So it's like a string connecting you. And whenever I include quilts into my artwork, a lot of times, sometimes the fabrics are inspired or imagined, but a lot of times I'll include patterns from fabric that I've encountered, like a shirt that my grandpa wore a lot, or a dress that I wore when I was a little kid. So I'm also tying memories into the quilts in my works as well. This is my painting called Diary of a Castaway, and I painted it at a time when I was trying to process some childhood memories and trying to find a place to land with them, and I landed on the idea of feeling lonely in a crowded room. I feel like that's a universal subject that a lot of people can relate to, and it felt like a good place to land. So I wanted to create a space that felt noisy and chaotic without painting a dozen people. So I used a lot of irrational objects, a lot of color, and a lot of density to create this really cluttered space. My goal with each piece is to always create an image that someone could sit and look at for hours and hours and still find new details and new meanings. And I love really dense compositions. So this was like my primary goal with this one. I combine a lot of objects that point to memories that tie back to like the not so good memories, but also the really good memories. So like I have the paper garland, and I have a lot of bright colors that make me really happy, paired with those other things that feel more chaotic and more noisy. And it was a really therapeutic way for me to process some of those memories. And I really, really enjoyed creating this painting. When I was developing my style of painting, I sort of landed in this space somewhere between surrealism and realism. I kind of call my paintings almost real, where they're realistic, but there's elements and subjects that are combined that are kind of nonsensical and lean more surreal. Whenever I'm creating a painting, I usually start with a nugget of an idea, and then I layer it with memories and stories that I've encountered, and I just take elements from like my experiences. I create from a very open place where anything can be inspiration, and so I layer these things to create more complex and more dynamic compositions that can point to a million different things while still telling the one core story. Thank you for watching my artist talk. If you want to stay updated with my work and what I'm doing next, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at withlove.holly. I always post what I'm working on and all my updates there.